The following is a conversation between myself and Ross Roadruck and his exhibition in the DESKhibition featuring the palettes. DESKhibitions are enabled by the following constraint. They must be imagined within the limitations of my desk drawer. I've been throwing around many ideas about what an exhibition inside my desk could become. I've been thinking about Fluxus kits, tiny treasures, curio boxes, traveling sales briefcases, library catalogs, recipes, prescriptions, medicine cabinets, spice drawers, prompts to be interpreted, plays to be enacted, models, miniatures, and more. Curious connections grow between what I've been thinking. I've been thinking about projects people I know or know of have done, thought, or are doing, namely Jorge Lucero's recent provocative series of texts to a virtual study group about John Cage's organ or ASAP, as slow as possible, wherein he, Jorge, suggested that we, the study group, are the word and made a direct etymological connection between what we are doing and the word organ or work or to do. I've been thinking about Jesse Malmed's call to send him drawings of your desk drawer. I've been thinking about Meg Duguid, Jorge's SAAC classmate, who carried around exhibitions in her purse. I've been thinking about Zach Tucker's pedagogical brochures. I've been thinking about who might not have time for homework, and I've been thinking about online homework. Not something original, not something unique. U and Q? Here's what Ross Roderick was thinking about when he sent me the palettes.
If you finish this by today, I'll let you peel these three, paint trays. And they're like, oh, okay.
How many palettes in this drawer helped create a dragon?
Okay, so let me think that through. That's a great question. I have them peel it and then I make them save it.
Like most people would just throw this away, but then you're like, what the heck? It's actually just a bunch of
Yeah.
plastic. But then a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of
just a
people
bunch of plastic that has like some other use. I don't know. I just think it's all pretty useful, actually. That's why I keep that's why I keep it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you think about those things more if you just spend time with the material.
What a lot of this comes from middle schoolers.
Mm.
Because they're the ones that are learning how to mix paint and either doing it in the wrong amounts
Yeah.
and then having a lot of excess or doing the wrong color and then needing to restart. So how it works, right, is that like I have like little like Tupperware container kind of things, and then I have like palette trays with like a sealed lid kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so they're supposed to, so they have like a shared one with just like the straight colors in it, and then there's other ones that they can mix in. So that's why you get a combination. So sometimes it's like, oh, a kid like had the like Tupperware thing with like their primaries in black and white in a thing. They forgot it in their drawer, it dried out, and that's where you get a whole thing. And then some of it's like, oh, you're making a color for a specific thing, and that's why you get like a mixed one.
I had this like wild hair when I was doing this to like that I was going to cut all of them into like, you know, basically pixel like little squares. Messing around with it and I was like, it is not that easy to control. It does its own thing still. Like some of this, like, how is I gonna I can't like
Yeah, it's
pick
well,
the
and some of
piece.
it, what's weird to me about it, it's like this is so dumb, but it's like some of it is really brittle and some of it is like very, uh, you know, still malleable, which is interesting. But it's all the same stuff. I do like the idea of like thinking about how can I like, or what is this, where does this go? And then finding
Yeah,
a way to do something with it.
yeah. Well, I tried to like take some of it and put it into a like manual vegetable chopper.
Oh, interesting.
It's like a
like a
blade.
slap thing.
It
Yeah.
was more like a
Oh, like
string
a
contraption.
mandolin.
I don't know. It has like this string. You pull it and then it like goes back in and the blade
Oh,
goes. Anyways, it was
interesting. I don't
awful. It
know.
didn't really work because I thought this thing is really sharp. It will
Yeah.
work. Maybe it will work. I thought maybe it will work. Did not work. It just ruined, and I think it actually just ruined my vegetable chopper, which is fine. I was like,
Dang. Vegetable chopper down.
I was like, this is a risk I'm gonna take. But I thought like, oh, maybe I can like grind it up. And as I was doing it, I was like, this is actually really bad to be breathing in this dust, you know?
Probably it's not great.
No.
Yeah, it's plastic.
Yeah.
It's not even microplastic. It's just like plastic, you know? It's just pieces of plastic. I don't see a need to. I mean, I think what you're doing is part of what this is about, right? How you're just sort of like kind of like fidgeting with it and rearranging it is kind of like part of the thing for me, you know?
hmm
The fact that we are like paying attention to it afterwards is part of the thing for me. But you know, it's just sort of this container of like
These ones are
use,
good.
you know? I know, right? Those ones like
And then they have a nice back.
I know. So that yeah, those ones are so good because it's like it was a big glob that got poured on top of smaller globs, and then the big glob pulled off the small pieces.
Yeah, and this one, like, it looks like you can't really see, but like from the side,
Yeah,
there's it almost looks like
the
glass,
shape of
like the
the
blue glass,
yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
melon here, but like
yeah,
there's a light that comes through it here.
yeah. So good.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, it is, I just, I mean, for me, all these pieces, I have other pieces that I've made with these, and they're just all kind of about like making something out of this or seeing a potential in a discarded thing. And there's something about the like, you know, uh, the energy and like effort it takes to make this much of this stuff, you know? And so, like this is also just like part of this stuff is all this like, what you're seeing is a lot of different people's and kids' attempts to make something, and it didn't quite get used up or utilized how they thought, and that's okay. And this is like a different life for it.
I was actually surprised that, like, do you not give your students black paint?
Not a lot.
Yeah, because there's like, I was surprised that there's not a lot of black paint. There's not, um, there's not a lot of browns either, so maybe they're just not mixing that color very often.
The brown is I do have a I have a I do have a brown, but I really try to get them to mix a brown since there's so many ranges of browns, and I feel like when you get the brown, it's like that kind of like you know sienna brown
There's some, yeah.
that like that, yeah, and it's like kind of a weird brown actually.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not actually there's not many things in the world that are that brown, so I try to have them mix the browns, but you know we also do a lot of like
And this is more like, $5,000 poodle brown.
but we do a lot of like I think really the other part of it is that in my class it's like a lot more like imaginative work, and so they're not like capturing realism all that often. Like I don't really have any assignments where I have them paint like a realistic thing, and so I feel like Brown is so often like of nature
Mhm.
that because I'm not asking them to paint things that are realistic, it just doesn't get used that much. But it's really interesting to see how much blue there is, really, blues
Lots
and
of
purples.
blue. This
Lots
one's,
of red too, actually.
yeah, red.
Um, this definitely a lot of this paint was used to like paint on top of like a plaster sculpture or like a cardboard sculpture. I
Okay.
would bet some of this paint was like, you know, making like like a well, like in seventh grade they make alebrijes, which are like those. They got popularized in Coco, but they're sort of like fantastical creatures related to Dia de los Muertos, where it's like, you know, a hybrid owl, tiger,
Right.
dragon, you know? So a lot of the paint comes from that stuff. A lot of times they're mixing paint on the lid of a yogurt container.
Nice.
Um, I saw your little, you kind of had a write up about, the inspiration for the piece and like doing this desk drawer thing. Um, what do you like? What's your like? What are your, huh?
You're gonna ask me a question now?
Yeah, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What's your like? Do you think like, well, what are you thinking will happen next? What do you think's like what's your, I don't know, what's your next steps or thoughts or what are you, how are you processing it?
Yeah. So I think that like part of the reason why I wanted to do this is because I knew that in some ways I'd be losing a community when I graduated. Not losing,
Hmm.
because I'm very much connected
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
people and stuff, but just like a different um obligation to a certain kind of connection, a different. But then also I was thinking
Hmm.
like what is my practice? What do I miss doing? What did I do? What have I done before that I would like to do more of?
Hmm.
Um and I thought about like I really enjoyed the short time that I had the confessional and how
Hmm. Hmm.
much that like permitted me to like actively engage with other people, think about other people's ideas, but also like invite them to think with me about something.
Hmm.
Um and I think it was like a combination of that, those desires or recognizing that and then thinking like, well, what space do I have? Where could it
Hmm.
be? And I don't know what made me think about my desk initially, but I started thinking about my desk. And then I started
Hmm.
thinking about how, at first, I was thinking about inviting, like, curating just one show in my desk where I'd invite people to send different, like, I would prompt them and say specifically, I want these to be like pedagogical objects that I put in my desk
Hmm.
that you're
Hmm.
inviting me to think with. Like,
Hmm.
because consider my desk as a place where you sit down to be like contemplative or
Hmm.
either make something or read something or write something. Um, it's where I spend quite a bit of time um, doing those things or doing other things like more like meaningless things in some ways or
Hmm.
um but I like how for me objects, books, different things like that, if they're in proximity to me, they become more uh like kind of more they emergently or like more um I don't want to say like naturally, but just like effortlessly in a way, like kind of part of my thinking. So,
Hmm.
initially I was like,
They're
oh,
more engaged with when it's like the proximity is there, the engagement is easier.
yeah, so I might just be thinking about something completely different. I might be like looking for a recipe online or like ordering groceries or like I don't know, sending my mom an email or something. But if there's a book nearby about abolition, I might not be actively thinking about abolition, but all the time, but it might be like this reminder to like think
Hmm.
about like some of the questions that are in that book or like
Hmm.
who wrote that book or
Yeah.
why is it
Take a
significant.
minute to like digest a piece of it.
Yeah, and so I think
Yeah.
that like, having things near me that I want to be thinking about or I want to be reminded of are important, but
Hmm.
I also like it when you just think like, "Hey, you're my friend or you're an artist I like and um I want to like what do you like to think with or what do you want me to think about?"
Hmm.
I like that kind of like
Yeah.
thinking with because I think that um as much as I really like to be alone, I don't really consider myself I'm not I'm not really like alone, only thinking. I don't like to be like only with my own thoughts. Like my
Hmm.
thoughts, I think,
Hmm.
are
Hmm.
enveloped in these other,
Hmm.
I don't know, little half thoughts even of other people or like things that
Hmm.
other people made or whatever. And that's how I've always, that's kind of even how I viewed a lot of my work, a lot of the work I was doing when I was doing the correspondence work or writing um, to different people who I found influential in different ways. Like it was like a way to do that. So then, anyway,
Hmm.
so then, but what I did, okay, so then I thought, oh, I'm gonna invite everyone to send me these things, and then they can send me these things, and then it'll be like homework for me, and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, you know what? That's so prescriptive still, because
Hmm.
I'm like telling them what they have to do. What if I just like say, this is what this desk is kind of doing this thing. What do you like, and
Hmm.
then open it up without kind of giving all of that first.
Hmm.
Um, and see what happens. And so that's what it kind
Yeah.
of has become. And then I haven't really overly planned it. And then like tonight, I was like, oh, I could like make a list of questions for you, for me. I could write a script and just try to like read it. It could be really poetic, whatever. And then I was like, no, I don't think I want to do that because we usually just naturally kind of have a flow to conversation together. Didn't think
Yeah.
be able to.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to sit down and not be able to just find something to talk about.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
wouldn't be totally unrelated. Like maybe Robert the doll isn't related to this, but like some of the things.
Or karaoke. Well, karaoke kind of because
Yeah,
there's
it's
some kids
different.
paint in there who were singing karaoke a couple months ago,
Yeah,
after they peeled some paint.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and like I like the whole karaoke thread because it's like it's analogous in the way that like there's these different practices that you do as artists that aren't about this finished product. They're not about even making something all that good, but they're about like noticing the materials and being with them and
Hmm.
playing and anyways, so that's kind of why I wanted to do it. And I knew I was going to be, I didn't actually know where I was going to be when I first, like, I did the painting of my desk.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be the DESKhibition painting, blah, blah, blah. And I was just kind of like messing around. I didn't know where it was going to be. And I was like, but this desk is going to be with me. I'm not going to leave it. It's
Yeah.
one thing I won't
Yeah.
sell. So I was like, I think it'll be okay. I'll just like figure it out. And so far, I've been figuring it out.
Yeah. I really like the idea of like what you were saying about how it's just like, and the fact that it's in a desk is really interesting in a drawer because it's like you can pull it out and kind of like access it and like be with it, or you can kind of put it away and like it's there.
Mm,
And like the image or the idea of it being there is still there, but you don't have to like visually engage with it necessarily, or you can do something different. And I don't
yeah.
know, I was just curious about to hear more about your motivation. Um, but I really like that idea of it, like, the proximity being um a way to like, yeah, just engage, even just for split seconds with something to have it kind of just stay in your presence. And, giving presence to things is, I don't know, really valuable, even if it's just kind of a fleeting moment or two.
Yeah. And then like, it's fun because put out this call or whatever
Flip
and
that one around. Flip that one around.
it's
Sorry.
very cool and I'm
Yeah,
ripping it
that's
open.
I
But
love the ones that have like two, like the one side is totally different, the other side are great.
well, this one is really nice because it has like a particular painterly activity. Like
Yeah.
it has like a particular like painterly sophistication to it, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
the color is it almost looks really intentional, but it's not,
Yeah.
right? Or I don't think it would have been, but um
Yeah.
however, it if I were to have guessed they were painting a human figure,
Probably
just because of those like
the tones.
yeah, these tones together, like I don't know what else you would be painting like most
Dog, a
like
dog, a cat.
like a really peach French bulldog.
I'm
Maybe.
gonna get their little, gotta get their little nose.
Yeah, but
Yeah, that's good
yeah,
though. Do those fit? Does that fit inside of that one? Do those go together?
yeah, I just ripped it apart.
Oh, yeah, okay. And tech world, just like the world in general, is becoming more and more less and less literate with like art, right? And like understanding the arts and like appreciating art. And because so much of it has isn't about like you don't go look at paintings to have a tangible like benefit to yourself. You go to look at art to like think about the world in a different way or to like understand other perspectives or like learn like a different way of being kind of, right? But like
Maybe. I think there's lots
so
of
much of the
layers.
world now though I feel like is so focused on like individual like uh on like it puts people at the center. Like, how am I involved in this? Oh, like I don't get this painting because like I don't see myself in it. Like I don't like, oh, like what, like why do I care about blah 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 this painting? Like I have no access points to it. And so there's some people that aren't like tuned into art because they don't see themselves in it. But like that's like the point of art, right? Is to like it's not about you being the center of it. It's about how is this, how
Yeah.
am I a part of this, or how is the world, a part of me? Anyway, this video is really great. The guy talks about this that like part of this like visual literacy is like this sort of like dissonance between that, like people not seeing themselves in it, but not getting that like that's not the point. Like the point is to yeah,
Under,
think about yeah,
yeah, or to not know everything, to not be familiar with everything, to
right,
not feel comfortable
right.
with everything.
Anyway, it's good to see you.
This
Let's talk again.